On the distant planet Valtherus, the royal palace floated above the capital city like a shining crown. Massive crystal towers reflected the violet light of the planet's twin moons, and golden ships drifted silently between the palace platforms. For centuries, the Valtherian Empire had been one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. And at the heart of that empire lived Princess Illyria, the youngest daughter of the ruling empress. But Illyria was not like the others in the royal court. While the nobles obsessed over politics, power, and tradition, Illyria spent her time studying distant worlds and learning about alien cultures. She believed the empire should cooperate with other civilizations rather than rule them. Unfortunately, that belief made her dangerous. The Valtherian nobles saw her ideas as weakness, and weakness, in their eyes, was unforgivable. The final argument happened during a royal council meeting. Illyria stood before the throne, her silver eyes blazing with frustration. "You cannot keep conquering other worlds forever," she said. "The galaxy will unite against us." The council chamber erupted with murmurs. One of the elder ministers stood up angrily. "The princess speaks like a coward." Another added coldly, "Or perhaps she speaks like an outsider." The empress remained silent for a long moment. Then she finally spoke. "Princess Illyria, you have forgotten your place." Illyria's heart sank. "Mother, you are no longer welcome in this palace." Gasps echoed through the chamber. "You will leave Valtherus immediately," the empress declared, "until you learn loyalty to your empire." Illyria stared at her mother in disbelief. "Exile." The empress did not answer. Instead, the palace guard stepped forward. And just like that, the princess of the Valtherian Empire was banished. The wilderness planet. The royal transport ship flew for hours before landing on a distant world far from Valtherus. The planet was harsh and untamed. Endless forests stretched across the landscape, broken only by jagged mountains and frozen rivers. Violent storms swept across the terrain, making survival nearly impossible. It was the kind of world used by the Valtherian Empire as a penal colony. And now it was Illyria's prison. The guards escorted her off the ship without ceremony. "You've been given basic survival equipment," one of them said coldly. A small pack was dropped at her feet. "Food supplies will last 3 days." Illyria's voice trembled slightly. "And after that?" The guard shrugged. "Then you survive or you don't." Moments later, the ship lifted off and disappeared into the clouds, leaving the princess completely alone. Days of survival. The first night was the hardest. The forest was filled with strange sounds, distant roars, rustling leaves, and the howl of wind through massive alien trees. Illyria had never experienced real wilderness before. In the palace, every need had been met by servants and advanced technology. Here, there was nothing. She tried to build a shelter using broken branches and leaves, but the cold air seeped through every crack. By the second day, exhaustion had begun to set in. Her food supplies were already running low. She wandered through the forest searching for water. Instead, she found something else. Storm clouds. Dark, violent storm clouds rolling across the mountains. Within minutes, the rain began. Cold, relentless, endless. By the third day, Illyria could barely stand. Her body shook with cold and hunger. She stumbled through the forest one last time before collapsing beside a fallen tree. Her vision blurred, and slowly, the princess of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy began to fade into darkness. The human explorer. Hundreds of kilometers away, another traveler moved through the forest. His name was Marcus Hale. Marcus was a human scout working for a small interstellar exploration company. Unlike the massive empires of the galaxy, humanity was still relatively new to deep space exploration. Most humans survived by working as independent traders, explorers, or engineers. Marcus had been surveying the wilderness planet for potential mining resources. Unfortunately, the storm had forced him to abandon his base camp. Now he was trekking through the forest trying to reach his ship. The rain soaked his jacket, and mud clung to his boots with every step. "This planet just keeps getting better," he muttered sarcastically. Then his motion scanner beeped. Marcus stopped. The scanner showed a life signal nearby. "Weak. Very weak. Probably some injured animal," he said. Still, curiosity pushed him forward. A few minutes later, he saw her. A pale figure lying beside a fallen tree. At first, he thought she was dead. Then he saw her chest move faintly. "Whoa, hold on." Marcus rushed forward and knelt beside her. Her skin shimmered faintly, like polished crystal. Her long silver hair was tangled with rainwater and dirt. Marcus blinked. Definitely not an animal. He scanned her vitals with his handheld device. The readings were alarming. Hypothermia, severe dehydration, and dangerously low energy levels. "She's not going to last an hour out here," Marcus muttered. He hesitated only briefly. Then he lifted her carefully into his arms. "Well," he said quietly, "guess you're coming with me." The shelter. Marcus carried Illyria nearly 2 kilometers through the forest before reaching his temporary shelter, a reinforced exploration pod hidden beneath a rocky cliff. Inside, he placed her gently on a heated medical cot. The pod's automated system immediately began stabilizing her temperature. Warm air circulated through the small cabin. Marcus cleaned the rain and mud from her face. "You're lucky I came through here," he said softly. Hours passed. Finally, Illyria's eyes fluttered open. She looked around in confusion. Strange metal walls, unknown machines, and a human sitting nearby. Her voice was weak. "Where am I?" Marcus smiled slightly. "Safe." She stared at him. "You're human. Last time I checked." She tried to sit up, but dizziness forced her back down. Marcus handed her a cup of warm water. "Slowly," he said. She drank carefully, then looked at him again. "Why did you help me?" Marcus shrugged. "You were dying in the woods." "That does not answer my question." He leaned back in his chair. "Because leaving you there felt wrong." Illyria studied him quietly. For the first time since her exile, she felt something she hadn't felt in days. Relief. A princess revealed. Over the next few days, Illyria slowly recovered. Marcus shared his supplies and allowed her to stay inside the exploration pod while the storm passed. Eventually, she told him the truth. "I am Princess Illyria of the Valtherian Empire." Marcus nearly dropped his toolkit. "Wait, you're royalty?" "Yes." "And they just dumped you in the wilderness?" She nodded sadly. Marcus whistled. "Your family sounds lovely." Illyria smiled faintly. "They believe I betrayed the Empire." "By doing what?" "By wanting peace." Marcus shook his head. "Funny thing about humans, we usually like people who want peace." She looked at him curiously. "Your species is strange." "Yeah," Marcus said with a grin. "We hear that a lot." A new path. When the storms finally ended, Marcus prepared his ship for departure. Illyria stood beside him at the landing site. "You are leaving this planet," she said. "Yep." "And me?" Marcus shrugged. "That depends." "On what?" He looked at her seriously. "What do you want to do now?" Illyria gazed out at the endless forest. Her empire had abandoned her. Her home was gone. But she wasn't alone anymore. She turned back to Marcus. "Perhaps I should see the galaxy from your perspective." Marcus smiled. "Well, Princess, welcome aboard." Ending. The Princess and the Explorer. Months later, Stories began spreading across the outer colonies. Stories about a human explorer traveling the galaxy with an alien princess. Some said she was building alliances. Others said she was learning about the worlds her empire had once ignored. But one thing was certain. The princess who had once been cast out to die in the wilderness was no longer alone. Because sometimes, the fate of an empire can change in the most unexpected way. Not through war, not through power, but through a simple act of kindness from a stranger who refused to walk away.